Hi, James. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic, Dean. Great to be talking to you.
And did you enjoy the event that we had this week, the first annual conference of the ERS Hub?
Yeah, it was absolutely brilliant to see it launched. They had some amazing inspirational speakers there. But the really the most important thing is to see this great initiative. Bringing together all the people who want to work in this industry with the skills, opportunities, and the employers in one platform. Very exciting to see it launched.
And it was great to see so many different sectors there, from automotive to aerospace. It was fantastic. James, Can you tell me, can you give me an intro into you and your business, Advanced Electric Machines, please?
Absolutely. So I'm James Widmer. I'm the CEO and one of the two co-founders at AEM, Advanced Electric Machines. We are a spin-out from Newcastle University, which was established to really properly put green sustainability into electric vehicles. I think most people have the view that electric vehicles are, the end game in their current form to sustainability, but the reality is there are still some real hurdles to overcome. We make electric motors that go into these vehicles, and the big challenge with electric motors today is that they contain materials which really make them much less sustainable than they could be. And the technology that we've developed and that we've grown out of research at Newcastle University and other places is all about trying to come up with a much more green, sustainable, but manufacturable, high performance, high efficiency electric motor, electric powertrain that can power all of these vehicles in the future.
You said electric vehicle. What kind of vehicles do you get involved in?
We do an awful lot of different vehicles. We very deliberately started looking at electric commercial vehicles, so trucks, buses, off-highway vehicles, diggers, all sorts of things like that. And we have customers who are using our motors in those sort of applications everywhere from Australia to Mexico and many different places in between as well. But we also are developing technology which is going to be used in the next generation of electric cars. And we even have products which are being used in some really interesting electric aerospace products as well.
I mean, the electrification journey has been quite rapid, I would say. So when you started the business, what type of motors were you making? Because I would imagine that the requirement out there wasn't as big as it is now. So what was your first electric motor, for example? What was the application?
Well, actually, we're just 6 years old at the moment, so we've been doing this for a little while, but not for too long. So I think what we were able to do is we were able to spot where the market was going, Dean, and get a product ready that was ready at the right time for a market that was starting to grow. So as I said, we've started really looking at electric trucks, and as you've probably seen when you look at what's on the roads, there aren't enormous amounts of electric trucks out there at the moment. But the reality is they're coming, and they're coming because a number of cities around the world are really wanting to improve air quality. There's obviously in general the concern over CO2 emissions, and that is really pushing people who are running big fleets of distribution vehicles to want to go electric, and that's then pushing in turn both relatively slowly in some cases some of the established OEMs, truck builders to start to provide those trucks, but actually very excitingly also a whole number of new market entrants who've launched their electric trucks into the market and are getting really good traction. And it's that market that we designed this product to fit into. I said that the big goal for us is really to give people building these vehicles a much cleaner, greener alternative to what they would otherwise be using. And I think that's what's got some of our customers really excited in our technology.
You mentioned the word challenges earlier. What have you found the main challenges in AAM in electrification been? Is it skills? Is it getting the right skills? Is it the market understanding what they require? Is it you having to go out to preach, about what can be done, or is it people coming to you? What's the biggest challenge there?
I think there are lots of challenges for anybody who's starting to bring a new technology to market and then scale a business around that technology. I mean, obviously, we're here talking about the ERS Hub. I mean, certainly a big challenge. I think for us and for all of the other businesses operating in this in this area is definitely the availability of people who really understand what they're doing. And it's sort of for us, it's a combination of people who really understand what an electric motor is, what power electronics are, what an electric drive is, how all of that fits together into a vehicle. But as well as understanding that sort of technology side, actually also understand what the industry expects to see in a rigorous engineering program that goes from a concept all the way through a huge amount of proving and testing to produce a very robust, well-proven, safe, high-performance product at the end of a several-year development program. And finding people who bring those two sets of skills together is difficult, certainly in the UK, but I actually think internationally as well. But there are other challenges as well. You can't build a big manufacturing business without raising significant funds. We're lucky we have very supportive investors, but it's always a constant constant process to go out there, explain what you're doing, explain why you're going to change the world, as I really truly believe we will, and therefore get investors on board. And actually, the other thing, and you really can't underestimate this, is you also have to understand how to actually sell your ideas and your products and actually put in place those long-term partnering agreements with your customers as well. That doesn't happen without a fair bit of effort, however good your technology is. So lots of challenges, but that's I think what makes it exciting and worth doing.
I would say that I'm going back sort of maybe 20 years. Electrical engineers and mechanical engineers and the design counterparts before that, the people that get involved with the concept of the projects, to me, they felt quite separate with a dividing line. But you did touch on the skills there and the adaptability of people. Is it relatively easy with things like the Electric Revolution Skills Hub for people to find the training if they're on the mechanical side and they want to become either on the electrical side or a bit of a hybrid? Do you think the hub's going to help with that at all?
Well, to be honest, I think that's really one of the things that I really want the hub to go and do. So, I mean, my background with the hub really predates anything that's actually happening with the hub. So I think I first started talking to people about this probably in about 2015 or 2016.
Wow.
And there was a real gap, I think. You're talking about electrical and mechanical engineers. What I do is electric motors, and the reality is electric motors are a sort of a weird hybrid between electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and also some other engineering disciplines as well, which don't feature in either of those. And one of the issues I think that businesses like mine have in terms of recruiting the right people is there are very few people out there who have the hybrid of all of the different skills that we actually need to make our products work. So one of the reasons for first, sitting with others and thinking, how do we solve this problem? And one of the sort of reasons for I think now ending up with this ERS Hub is exactly that, which is we don't need electrical engineers, we don't need mechanical engineers. what we actually need a hybrid of those plus understanding of automotive engineering, plus often some business acumen as well. We're looking to try and get all of these things together in one individual. And I think the enormous opportunity with the ERS Hub is to give people who want to enter what is, in my mind, one of the most exciting industry sectors, on the planet at the moment. I mean, we're one of the areas which is really, really rapidly changing the world, and very much for the better. But it gives those people the opportunity to then understand, what it is that I or others as employers want and need from staff, and then to see where the gaps in their experience are, and then to work out what training courses are actually available around the UK in order to fill those gaps. And I think that's particularly unique, and it's really bridging the gap between the mechanical and the electrical engineer, as I said.
For people that weren't able to attend the conference or watch it live on the live stream, obviously that will be available after on the ERS Hub YouTube channel, which I'll put a link down to in the description. But you've mentioned the word unique there. I thought it was really unique to see so many different potential competitive forces at the same event for the same goal. Actually the sharing of knowledge. I thought that was quite powerful. That's only going to grow because obviously I think the next year's ERS Hub is aimed at Glasgow, so we're trying to take it a little bit more around the country as well. But you said that you were involved from 2015, so you've kind of seen all of the whole journey all the way through up to the current day and the launch this week. What about businesses? What would your advice be as a fellow CEO business person to other businesses on how to get involved and how they can help, and how the ERS Hub can help them? How it would all work, because you've got hindsight of a long time over this, whereas businesses watching this podcast for the first time might not have a clue where to start. So where did this start, and how can it help?
Well, I think the first thing is for me, this is a little bit about a mindset, actually. I think often businesses working in the same area can see each other as competitors rather than partners. And the reality is this is a market which is growing at something certainly above 30%, probably above 35% a year, and it's going to do that year on year for years to come. So the reality is that there is opportunity for many businesses in this. And the thing that will slow us all down, if we're not careful, is the ability to access the right people with the right skills. And there are massive, fantastic people out there in the market, but they don't necessarily come with an understanding of what they need to know, or even actually necessarily with an understanding of what exciting roles there are out there. So I think for me, it's about businesses looking at the bigger picture and the future. And therefore, I think really embracing this hub as an opportunity. I mean, the hub's not about advanced electric machines. I started working on it when I was ran a research centre at Newcastle University. It's about really increasing the global competitiveness of the UK, but also about allowing the UK to really contribute to solving a global problem. And if we can get this right, and if we can get everybody to cooperate by advertising their jobs on this platform, by getting their staff to use the platform, by just selling the vision that the platform has to all of their stakeholders, then it's going to put us in a fantastic position to be really generating that big pool of resource that we all need. So hopefully that answers the question. But I mean, it's I think just about understanding what we're trying to achieve and why it's in everybody's best interest that we push it forward.
What about the businesses that are in primarily fossil fuel-based industries that may be looking into the future, thinking, our business is going to erode, it's going to die, and it's going to be taken over by electrification? What would your advice be for them to gain knowledge from this collective of people within ERS Hub and driving the electric revolution.
Yeah.
Would you advise be to them for them maybe to start diversifying into other products?
Well, I think so. I mean, I think the UK is in a fantastic, but also a slightly worrying. Change is always difficult. We're in a slightly difficult situation that we've been so strong on the development of internal combustion engines. You know, I think really many of the very best engines in cars over the past decades have come out of UK brains, and that's everything from motorsport through to much larger volume vehicles. But the reality is that the world is changing, and I think the world has to change. And I think it's businesses who do adapt, and there are plenty of opportunities to adapt, that will be able to reap the dividends, the rewards of being early movers into this new technology area. I remember there was a guy I used to work with who used to use the analogy of the change from steam engines to diesel electric trains, and he used to say that there wasn't a single company that survived that transition. Every steam engine manufacturer in the UK went bust, and a new generation came through. It certainly doesn't have to be like that, and I think one of the things that the ERS Hub does is I think it whether you're an individual looking for a career, or you're a business who's trying to work out how you could fit into this, it's not for that, but it would certainly allow you to see who's recruiting, what sort of things they're doing, and therefore maybe try and understand where the gaps might be and where you might fit. I mean, certainly for me, I don't only need people. I need fantastic suppliers with a great sense of quality, who are trying to produce very great value for money components that I can build into what I'm doing. And I would love to find as many of those as possible in the UK. Great opportunities, I think.
We've spoken about current and historical electrification changes and changes in your own business. What about what can you see in the next? This sounds like an interview question, but what can you see in the next 5 and 10 years within this environment in electrification first, in that industry, in those industries, but also for your own business?
Well, I think what's clearly happening is the growth we're looking at here is it's an exponential growth curve. So things are increasing by a pretty fixed percentage year in, year out. If I just look at the impact of that on skills, the guys at Coventry University who are rolling out the ERS Hub, they did some really interesting research when we first got them involved. So I don't know, probably 3 years ago now, where they used their capability to sort of sniff out what was going on the internet to figure out two things. So one was how many jobs there were going which related to electric motors, power electronics, and drives, that the area the ERS Hub fits, and how many people were being trained in that area. And the numbers came out to be about 7,000 vacancies and about 400 people being trained, which is one of the reasons I think that we need the ERS Hub to try and close that gap. But the reason I raise it is we're looking then at 30-odd% compound growth year in, year out. So that's the start. That gap is the start. It's not the end. And so I think one of the things I expect to see is that businesses like mine and others really trying now to scale very fast in order to meet the demand of all of these customers I've talked about for our products around the world. And that's going to mean that we need more people. It's going to mean that we need a supply chain that's prepared to grow with us. It also means that we're going to need more charging infrastructure, potentially accessibility to more hydrogen fueling stations. There's a whole big tranche of change which is coming on stream over the next few years. And I think what's really exciting is that what we've seen so far, which is what I think 5% of cars are electric cars now, something like that in the UK. That is only going to grow, and the infrastructure is going to have to keep up, and the skills are going to have to keep up. And if we can do that, then we're in line as the UK to be real global leaders in these technologies. But also we make the world a much, much nicer place to live. As long as we make the right decisions, I should say, about what technologies we use in these vehicles. And I would obviously point to the sort of things that we're doing and other people are doing on batteries as being the right way of doing it, rather than picking technologies which are not quite so sustainable as instead the wrong way of doing it.
The Coventry University research that you just mentioned, that's quite a big gap already, isn't it, between the jobs required and the skills available. But the one thing that I'd like to add into this is that we're not just thinking about the engineers and the people within, transforming into a different role into electrification today, but it goes all the way back to primary schools. I mean, I remember speaking to Ben Chesterton from Driving the Electric Revolution, and they're going into schools, primary schools, and getting people to build little DC motors. So the effort is there. But, if anybody's watching this that's interested in, from a business point of view or an individual point of view, interested in being involved, and I cannot stress enough how important it is to join the Electric Revolution Skills Hub. Again, there'll be links after this podcast on the end slide where you can do that. It's so important because it's a big family now. It's this family that's grown over the last few years and been launched in 2023. But it's only going to grow. And if you're not part of that family, it might be a little bit more difficult for you to find the solutions to move from where you are now to where we need to be as a nation. James, finally, do you think that it sounds to me, this might be with my UK head on, but it sounds to me as though the UK is really leading this push around the world. Are there any other countries that are kind of doing the same thing, or are we really pioneering this from the very beginning?
Well, so I think in terms of this sort of platform approach to bring everybody together, I mean, certainly you never know, do you? But certainly my understanding is that, and from the research that's been done, it looks like this is a unique thing that's being pioneered here in the UK. And I think I think we are in a great position in the UK to really be leaders in these developments. And it's great the ERS Hub exists, because without it, as I said, we have this big gap. With it, we can close that. And you were talking about primary schools. I mean, I think that the thing that strikes me about this is it is about primary schools. It is about bringing young kids into this profession, all the way through primary school and then into secondary school and through university. In particular, I'd like to say, people who don't traditionally join engineering, like girls and others who have been put off it by its slightly masculine feel in the past. Really, really excited to see that. But this is also about people though who already are working, who work, for example, building internal combustion engines, who work in the car industry, who work in the rail industry, who are doing other things which are related to what is needed or tangential to what is needed, but don't quite have those skills. I think the really exciting thing here is to use this as an opportunity to give those people the visibility they need of what their futures could be if they were to transfer across, and then to understand how they do that. And I think, I'm certainly excited about the schools, but I'm also excited about, finding some of that massive talent that's out there in the UK already doing, absolutely world-class engineering, who are looking to help us to deliver what we want to go and deliver in terms of electrification.
Fantastic. James, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's great to see this from an employer's point of view, and somebody who's been involved in the ERS Hub, for quite a while, since its inception. We've always we've mentioned already that you can get involved. We've got a YouTube channel. We've got all the social media channels you ever want. So whatever your flavour is in terms of social media, you can follow us there. You'll see all the latest news, all the latest podcasts. You'll see the latest press releases, anything that's happening in terms of networking, because there are several networking events during the year, plus for the next annual conference, which I believe is next May or May. I can't remember. I will get that date and I will put it into the description.
Possibly even slightly earlier, I think. But it's coming up before we know it, I'm sure.
Yes, and that will be in Glasgow. So look out for that. I would definitely urge you all to come and say. We went to the last one and it was fantastic.
Just to reiterate, the ERS Hub is a real novel experiment that we're trying from the UK, but it's an experiment which is based on some very clever people's experience in different areas. And I think this is going to work, and this is going to really give the UK a big foot up in trying to lead in this area. So completely share what you say about it. Everybody. Please sign up. It's going to help us really change the world.
Thank you, James.
Thanks very much indeed. Great to meet you, Dean.